All right, here we go on this last Friday before the NHL Christmas break. On the Real Kyper and Bourne Show, we are live on Sportsnet 590, The Fan, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, back from the dead. Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, and Jake the Snake Schultz also along for the next 2 hours.
Yes, sir.
Sammy?
Yeah.
You got some color back.
Yeah. I'm one of these stupid headphones. I forgot my headphones. I look like DJ Sammy over here. Listen, I needed yesterday. Wasn't in great shape. Still not in perfect shape, as you can probably hear. But here's what I'll say. First things, I can only imagine the things that were said about me yesterday. I can only imagine.
Praise.
Well, you listened.
No, are you crazy? No, I didn't listen.
Absolutely not.
Are you nuts? I'm not that kind of guy. And also, my mom sent, when she came down here a month ago, she brought these specific treats that she's like, you got to bring these in to the guys.
They were good.
They're very good, but
high end.
But if it wasn't for those treats, I might have still been in bed. So,
well, thank you very much for the treats.
Yeah, there you go.
So no IR, just really a maintenance day.
Day to day.
Just you cuddling with Louie yesterday.
Yeah.
You have a little mulled wine and watch some sports.
No, all dark day.
Well, we got a game day. We're squeezing the last few in. The Leafs again will play tomorrow night, Saturday night on Hockey Night in Canada, the New York Islanders in town, and then we'll close it off. And we will have our Real Kyper and Bourne show on Monday, Sammy.
Oh, we will,
It will be 5 to 7, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Because of a 2 p.m. puck drop against Winnipeg. So still plenty more here on our show. But in the meantime, we'll get ready for the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Buffalo Sabres. And JB, you and I will disappear at 6 p.m. and race over for our 6:30 pregame show on Sportsnet Ontario, minus the ugly green sweatshirt you're wearing.
I'm at so I don't know if people know how big the Sportsnet campus is here, but I'm wearing this, and I got to be on air in a suit with makeup on 6:30. I don't even know what we're talking about.
You got 25 minutes. Yeah. By the time we cross over, you got 25 minutes before we're live.
But the last time you did this, you did wear a suit.
I know, and I forgot today because I was just so pleased with myself for wearing my stupid sweatshirt.
Well,
I mean, it is a great sweater.
It's Scarborough Golf Club, which we love.
Yeah, beautiful place.
But we just hate the green.
But it's awful. Yeah.
I don't hate it.
But that's the whole premise of ugly sweater, green, ugly time of year to wear that stuff.
I think this is it. It's okay to be gaudy and kitschy and weird, right? I don't know.
Okay, so is there anything ugly about the Toronto Maple Leafs lineup that they had to make major changes on the blue line? Do you want to start there? Matt Murray, of course, is in tonight. That in itself is a big storyline. Where do you want to start there?
Let's
ugly
start
sweater.
There. To me, that's the big story of the day. Matt Murray. It's been 600 and some days since he played a game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah, I think that's pretty noteworthy, Kip. This guy had double hip surgery and, making his return tonight.
Sammy, you got a few words before we go into Kyper's Clippers?
I think it's pretty awesome that he's gotten back here.
Kudos to him.
Full credit. And I have no idea how it's going to go tonight. I mean, he's had a pretty good stretch in the AHL. He's a professional goalie. He's won the cup a couple times. But you got to give the guy credit for going down to the AHL, not making much of a fuss by all accounts, playing a lot, and earning his way back here, and he gets to start tonight.
Having played some sports and doing some TV, I know the time you're most nervous is not necessarily once it all starts. It's like now. I bet Matt Murray right now, maybe he's getting to the rink in the next half hour. He's putting his suit on. He's going to make his NHL return. Yeah. I bet he's feeling some butterflies right now. Must be pretty excited.
Let's go to Craig Berube on his thoughts of getting Matt Murray back in tonight.
He's played well down there, and we thought we'd bring him up here and get him involved here tonight with, the Stolarz injury. Veteran guy that's been around, and, obviously the last couple of years with injuries and things like that with him, but he's back to health, and, he's playing well down there, and like I said, veteran guy.
Kip, do you think his reputation, his name in the NHL still carries a lot of weight? Like people still think of him as much better than some of these prospect guys like Hildeby? And
yeah, I do. And it probably led me to believe when I told you guys a while ago that there was interest in the Leafs having Matt Murray come back in some capacity, and then the thought that there'd be other interest around the league.
That someone else would have snapped up Matt Murray.
That's when you dry heaved, as I recall.
Me too.
You too?
Oh, yeah.
Now, in fairness,
and-
we have not been proven wrong yet. He's back. That's great. But
Yeah, valid point.
Yeah.
We'll see what how he looks, how it feels moving forward. Like, it's been a long road, and it's just the double surgery on his hips was kind of the end of kind of a long bad run.
mm-hmm.
If we start him over after the surgery, it's looking and feeling okay now once again for him. But prior to that, that was an ugly kind of last few years for him, which really bottomed out when he got kicked to the curb by the Ottawa Senators,
Yeah.
and then the Leafs picked him up.
You feel for anyone who's a professional athlete who loses their status, role, all that because of something out of their control like injury. But that's what we're talking about when we talk about Stolarz and when we talk about Joseph Woll. Are these guys at risk of that? This guy has been on the other end of it. What's fascinating for me tonight is I'm reading an article here. After double hip surgery in April, Sabres prospect Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is back on the ice. And that's from 2019. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is the goalie for the Buffalo Sabres tonight. So this is many years later from that. So you can come through this and play for a lot of years after.
Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was just going to say if we want to hear the second clip from Berube on Matt Murray as well.
Okay.
Just to close it off. Clip 2, please, Derek.
Yeah, dedicated guy, obviously he's won 2 cups and he's done it all, but, he still has a lot left in the tank and he wants to continue playing. So it takes a lot of hard work, but, it takes a lot of hard work and he's already accomplished the ultimate goal a couple times, but he still has a lot of fire inside and wants to, get back to the form he had once.
So that clip stuck out to me because you've always, and Bourne and I not doubted you, but we're always surprised by you saying how much this guy really, because remember when he went on LTIR, we were like, oh, he's done. He's never going to play again for the Leafs. It's done. And you were always like, nah, I don't know. He really wants to push. And that clip there just tells you that, like, for him to stick with it, double hip surgery, playing in the AHL, fighting his way back here, like, he must have a fire.
Yeah.
It was it was the thought to clean up one hip, and I think it was don't quote me, but I think it was pretty much his idea to get the second one done too.
Yeah, while you're in there.
While you're in there,
While you're digging around.
You're cutting stuff up.
let's go. I'll get the deluxe. Right?
It's like picking a car wash at a gas station.
Yeah, exactly. I'll
Give me
get
the ultimate package.
deluxe hip surgery.
Does that come with a vacuum?
Yeah, rust-proof those two while you're in there.
That's, I think, basically the way it went down.
Yeah.
And he's been pain-free for the first time in a while here. You can't forget that he just, turned 30 in May.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about like a mid-30s to, 40, closer to 40. We're talking about a very still relatively young man in professional sports.
Was he like no older than Stolarz, right? Like maybe half a year older than Stolarz. So, yeah, it's not inconceivable that, and we see goalies have success in their 30s all the time. So It would be quite a story if he comes in. Now, he would have to play pretty well to get continued opportunity, right? Like he's got 4 weeks here, probably get 6 starts, 5 starts?
It's way too early for Brad Treliving or Craig Berube, Brendan Shanahan, whoever wants to stick their 2 cents in it to forecast what anything can look like. It's just it's balls in the air, to be honest with you. And who knows how they kind of fall between now and March. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that if they can get to a point where they're all healthy, then that management team will have some options. And one of those options could be that Matt Murray could be playing so well that you may want to flip him. There might be a team out there that could say, I need experience to try to get me into a spot And I mean,
Have
offhand, I can't tell you what that team is, but it would probably have to be in the West somehow. If someone's still in a race that may have a goalie go down or something.
Could Utah, could St. Louis,
Who knows what the scenario is?
Colorado may need a fifth one.
Or on the other hand, you can sit there and go, okay, since the summer, Wall's been hurt, Stolarz has been hurt, Murray's been hurt because a week and a half ago he was out.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't take any chances here. I need them all.
I think that's the most likely answer. Like, I don't think, if you think he's your best option past Stolarz and Wall, I don't think getting a third rounder for Matt Murray does you any good in a year you're trying to win a cup here.
It all depends again. Can you use the third rounder to flip it if you need it or protect yourself a little bit down the road? I don't know.
Yeah.
They're assets, though.
Yeah.
It's dealing from a position of strength, which is nice.
Yeah, you
for
want
them.
everyone to be good so you can have options, for sure.
But, I mean, you have to, if you're carrying a third goalie, right, then, because he would have to go, if he went back down, he'd have to clear waivers again, right? Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, you're probably right. Surely. Yeah, he's like a
I'm
pro
not
of a
100%
zillion games.
I'm not a capologist here, but it feels like he would have to clear again to go back down. So that's one there. If you're going to carry a third goalie, the trade option, we're getting so far ahead of ourselves here, but that seems like it would be more likely. But anyways.
Talking with my wife here.
What?
Ten
I'm
steps ahead.
I'm making plans down the road here, boys. What do you want from me?
Yeah, I think, well, we do believe that he's going to be up here for the next month,
For sure.
right?
Yeah. I think unless he gets hurt, right, then it would be Hill to be again. But it feels like they're going to send Hill to be down there, let him in Akimov split time, and away you go.
So he's making $875 right now, Murray.
Okay. You want to move to the blue line here because we're going to see some major changes. What do you want to say before we go to the blue line?
I thought we should maybe talk about Matthews.
Okay. All right. You think that's a developing story?
Well, he didn't practice today, and it was
Not wildly uncommon
No.
in morning skates.
but Luke, of course, asked Berube about it, and this was Berube's answer. Clip 4, please, Derek.
It's tough. I mean, he's fighting through it, and he's doing, he's doing a pretty good job out there in the ice. Like, he's producing and playing hard and working, and we just got to manage it. It'll get better. We just got to manage it though, and that's why he's off the ice today.
Yeah. See, he kind of opened himself up a little bit there.
Manage it.
Manage it. Fight through it. Hey, Chief, what's the it?
Yeah.
What's the it?
I said
you
that
want to
in our-
mention it twice?
Like, I think
Tell us what it is.
I think everyone in the league at this point assumes it's something back related. So let's just talk about what it is so people can have some understanding what we're talking about here.
I have a few thoughts on this. If you're showed some of your best hockey, and we'll joke about this all the time, without him playing, like if he's not right and time off and like be working off ice and not playing these games is going to make him better for the end of the year. Why is he fighting through these games in December where he doesn't look like, he looks like 60% of himself right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like if he's truly still hurt and still fighting through this, it makes no sense to me.
I think it's mostly concerning that he has taken what appears to be the most elaborate step you can make outside of surgery, which is traveling to another continent to see a doctor who can do things we can't do here. Like, we're at a pretty desperate stage, and it didn't work. He looks exactly like he looked to me before he went to Germany.
Yeah.
I don't see any difference. So it didn't work, and what's the next option? Manage it. They play over the next 6 weeks. They play, just checking, 400 games. Like what?
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to manage that.
See, I'm totally on board with you guys. When I hear that he's fighting through it,
What are we doing?
why does he need on a Friday night,
Against the worst team in the East.
like a couple of days away from Christmas, need to fight through against a team that hasn't won a game since, a gazillion years ago?
We got Domi's back, McMahon's back. Like, you're pretty healthy otherwise.
If I hear fighting through it, night off,
Yeah.
Minton back up.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like they need to go this route. So.
And then this kind of lends to your point is if you've already tried the rest for 9 games in 3.5 weeks and that didn't work, then we're going to go through the fighting through it stage now? Because rest didn't work.
You said
so
it'll
now
get
we're
better.
Now we're gonna just kind of fight through it.
Treatment didn't help. What if not treating it helps?
Yeah, what if the opposite of treating it?
What if fighting through it could help?
Playing every single night. That'll help it.
With guys who know you're kind of feeling it a little bit.
Yeah, and that goal against Dallas, the first one where he's on the backside of, I forget who it was. Was it Sam Steele that ends up scoring it?
Yeah.
It's closer to the end of the shift. I understand it, but like the stride, it's just.
I didn't like his route.
Stiff.
What was the first game back? Someone drilled him that didn't have the puck. Was it Sandheim or someone on Philly or something?
No, it was on, was it on the Blackhawks? Connor Murphy?
Murphy.
Got him behind the net.
Drilled him early. It's like, didn't look good.
So, the two ways Craig Berube could have gone about this is to completely deny anything's wrong at all, right? He's just working on his timing and just getting his confidence back, but he went totally the other way, as if it was an admission of we see what you see.
Mm-hmm.
He's not all there, thus the fighting through it, thus the managing it, and
part of that
there's that in itself is concerning.
But part of that could be helping him out. So
it takes him off the hook a little bit.
Everyone can see that he's not, and if he is truly, he's in pain and he's trying to play for the team and whatever. I'm sure they're like, God, we can't have people thinking he's just dogging it or something. So maybe it is an effort to help him out
that's
a little bit.
That's fair. That is fair. That it helps alleviate the we're not denying that he's not at the top of his game and he's not looking like the player that we believe he should be, or we all believe that he should be. So maybe that helps him take pressure off himself to say, they know I'm not 100%. The coach is admitting, and then if there's another night like the last few that we've seen, it'd be like, hey, no, he's managing through it. He's fighting through it.
Or maybe the simplest explanation is usually true, and it's that they haven't put much thought into the PR part of it, and he just went out and answered some questions, which is an option too.
I feel like they might have had a conversation, but you may be right.
Yeah,
and we're heading towards here or something. I know it's still December, but they got a bunch of games coming up here, and playing hockey all the time doesn't make your back feel better. I'm assuming it's back again here. I'm just throwing that out there.
I don't know how we cannot assume it's something else. I got
to tell you,
right?
The Four Nations face-off conversation's already popping up, and it's like every Leaf fan. No, man, I'm not. I sent out a tweet about it earlier today, and everybody's saying Four Nation face-off, Four Nation face-off. If we're at this similar point at the end of January, he can't play.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can't. The Leafs are going to have to step in here. I know it's an NHL ran event. I know he's a face of one of the big teams. Like I understand all that. But if he is fighting through this, his back is effed up or whatever it is,
no doubt,
cannot play in that tournament.
No, say you have
flat out.
You have a rare opportunity. The NHL almost never
2 full weeks.
2 weeks in the middle of the season before deadline to just rest.
This isn't the Olympics.
Do you want to win a Stanley Cup or whatever? What are they handing out for these?
The inaugural Four Nations face-off presented by Rogers. Like just,
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that, and I think they'll cross that bridge when they come.
For sure.
And I think if we go to even mid-January, right?
Yep.
There's got to be 10, 12 games. I think it's too early to have that conversation.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. It's
fair.
It's legit,
okay,
but it's too early. If, in fact, Christmas is over, comes back, he's got 2 weeks of looking like his normal self, that'll be a really hard one for the league to swallow. We're trying to build something here, and are you kidding me? No, there's pressure.
They can't tell a team.
I'm telling you, I know they can't.
Yeah.
And I know ultimately the Leafs will have the final say.
Yeah.
But if he's looking like his old self by mid-January, that one's a very difficult one for even the Leafs, even the almighty Maple Leafs, to go back to Gary Bettman and say,
He's fine, but we'd rather he didn't play.
Yeah. We know you marketed your U.S. team around him, and it's McDavid versus Matthews in a dream final, but we're gonna leave him out for precautionary reasons.
But Kip, even if he is healthy and he is performing, he's gonna want to play.
Absolutely.
So if he's fine, he's going to play. There's no scenario where he's okay.
Yes.
And they choose to rest him, I don't think.
No.
Which you would love them to do.
But he would be the first one to say, if that tournament was next week, I can't go like this.
No.
Even he knows he doesn't have the juice right now.
Boys, their schedule in January is bonkers. And really starting on the 27th of December. 27th, 28th, 31st. And then it's every other day in January.
They're going to
2,
have to
4,
give
5, 7th, 9th, 11th, 14th, 16th, 18th, 20th, 22nd. I mean, it's every other day.
They're going to have to give him some days off.
To me,
they
this
have to.
right now is a huge missed opportunity, not just to do it right this second. Be like, hey, we'll see you on Friday against the Red Wings, the 27th. It's like you're playing against the Sabres and the Islanders. And I guess you have the Jets who are good on a Monday. It's a marquee game, but to me, it's a huge missed opportunity. Like if he's resting and he's fighting through, it's like, what are we doing?
Here's the problem,
You're first in the Atlantic.
There's no guarantees right now
that would help.
That would for the second time to go down another path of 3 games. Is 3 enough? We just did 9.
You're right. I'm looking for answers here. I'm looking for answers.
Yeah.
So
okay.
D-pairs.
Blueline. This kind of surprised me when I heard the major shuffling. I think, again, it's an admission of, we're getting points and we're getting lights out goaltending, but we don't like what we're seeing.
A lot of this isn't super surprising. Benoit and McCabe have been paired up again, and they've been great. They were their shutdown pair in playoffs last year. We know that they can do it. OEL Tanev is really nice, I think, right? Handedness is there, lots to like. Riley Timmins, we're at a point, and I have an article in Sportsnet where I wrote a little bit about Morgan Riley today.
What'd you say about him?
I said, and I may have said something like this on the show yesterday, but if a friend of mine has dated 10 straight girls that he tells me are crazy and it didn't work out, at some point he's dated enough people that I go, it might be you. Have you thought it might be you? Morgan's on his...
2 or 3 girls.
Yeah.
But I mean 10?
No, but like Riley, I'm saying he's had enough partners now where you go, God, none of them are right for you, eh? Like everyone's got something off. Is maybe if it has to be Ron Hainsey or Luke Shen, can Riley not play with someone else? He doesn't work with OEL. He doesn't work with, go through the years of partners they've tried to pair him with and it doesn't work. Why?
What is it in his game?
It's kind of what I'm wondering. What is it? That it has to be Luke Shen.
We've reached the point of the season where we start to question what Morgan Riley is. Like it's an annual thing. But I agree. It's at some
He's
point
been
here.
Fine.
No, I don't know if he's been necessarily fine. I think there's been a lot of games that leaves you a little wanting more. No question.
Yeah.
But
I looked into the numbers today and expected goals percentage and stuff.
Okay.
He's like 5th on the D-Corps.
Okay.
It's not great.
No.
And
that meets the eye.
Yeah.
So
what's his plus minus? I don't even know.
He's
is
the
that a
only
factor?
guy, only D-man at 5-on-5 who's been on for as many goals as he's given up. He's been on for 18-4 and 18 against at 5-on-5. I'll check the NHL site. That was natural stat trick.
On the team?
No.
Yeah, I think he does.
Really?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. And it's not even close.
It's problematic.
-8.
What was I looking at now? So this must be other strengths like empty net goals and stuff and things. I was looking at purely 5-on-5. But yeah, no. -8 is the worst on the team. Second worst is -3. Tanev is
+11.
+11. Oh.
We go from +11 to -8.
And so
that's
significant.
he's
That's a
not
stunning
beyond
number.
reproach. He's not beyond criticism at this point. McCabe is +9. Timmins +8. Ekman Larson +7. Benoit +6.
What is going on there?
He's -8. I don't know. I know he's on for a couple empty netters, but that's not enough to.
Do you want to hear the coach talk about the D pairs?
Love to hear it.
Clip 3, please.
Well, like I think more than anything, it's we switched them up the last couple of games in game, put Noel back on left. McCabe's played right here before with Benoit. They were a good pair. It's a heavy pair, so it's just moving guys around, just the same as we do up front with the lines at times. Mix them up once in a while.
This lends towards like really good or really bad. I don't know if there's going to be a middle here.
Do you want to guess? Has he ever been good with an offensive defenseman? Ever?
Probably.
I think his
not.
numbers with Lilligren were
always
okay.
assume, but you always assume that he
San
is
Jose Sharks scratched
the
fame?
D-man getting scratched by the Sharks right now. Yes.
You always assume that he's the offensive guy to go end to end, and he needs a stay-at-home guy.
Right, and that's it. It's like, it's got to be Lyubushkin. It's got to be a butcher who does nothing but bang it off the glass. Why?
Well, this is a problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
He's on his right side. They tried to play him with Tanev,
The only thing,
who
too,
everyone can play with.
is Timmins has slipped a little bit for me, too.
So you want a slipping Timmins with Riley.
Yeah, who took 2 penalties and should have taken 3 against the Stars.
Yeah.
You know,
Right?
a
Like
penalty hat trick in 3 shifts.
He hasn't looked good for a few weeks here.
Yeah.
And you're going to put him with Riley? It's like,
Slipping a
that's
little
going to
bit.
work?
I bet you that pair plays the least minutes tonight.
For sure.
Yeah, because I like those other 2 pairs.
Yeah.
Now, how did you always feel if you came in and knew you were on a new line? You got a little juice out of
Yeah,
it, right?
it's something fresh,
Right?
new,
And-
and a little exciting.
And then your attention to detail, and you want to make sure that it's a positive move. So factor in that Matt Murray's going in for his first game in
That's going to help.
100 years, and you got new pairs. So it could lend to the focus being a lot better.
And outside Matthews, they're healthier than they've been, right? Kampf is back in there. McMahon is helping drive that third line. Like, you feel pretty good about the state of the team right now. This is not all doom casting for a team that's winning a bunch and first in the Atlantic, but yeah, no, it's I do think they're going to get a decent showing. The only counterpoint I've heard that I like is Sammy basically saying it never goes well in Buffalo.
At least it's always a house of horrors. down
Well,
there.
it's not the fans.
I just picture old Brian McCabe shooting it in his own net down there. I just picture so many bad
It's
games
not the
that way.
Leaf fans' fault. They're doing their part.
Oh, yeah.
To the point that the coach of Buffalo, do we have that clip?
We
Yeah.
do have that.
Yeah, we
clip.
do.
Yeah.
Listen,
Lindy
clip
Ruff
one.
talking about it. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be a hard game, I'll tell you that.
Lindy Ruff.
Clip 1.
Clip 1.
Oh, we
Yeah.
got no Lindy clips. What did Lindy say, though? Oh, we found it. We found it.
Well, I think it's something you got to embrace the challenge. It's not what you want to see in your building, obviously, but we've got a challenge ahead of us. We know it's all about the 2 points, not about the fans. We play well. We can take the fans out of the game.
That clip's devastating, and it felt intentional.
I know.
I actually didn't hear it before we came on air.
I don't know. Did he get a laugh off of it? Was there a laugh off of it?
That's a good point. Was it a joke? Was he trying to
don't
get a
know.
laugh?
There wasn't much of a laugh, no.
It wasn't.
No.
Because if he's sending a message like we're trying to take their fans out of it,
I would have said that, and I would have thought that I'd get a chuckle out of it, and I'd kind of like. But based on the last 12
I'm
games,
not laughing, pal.
based on the fact that my general manager just had a laundry list of things that are not appealing about being in Buffalo, like no palm trees and state tax, I would have avoided that last soundbite.
If he's trying to
Right?
lighten the mood, I have no problem with it because you can't just live in the darkness.
But lighting the mood with it still is a shot at your organization, right? It's getting people to laugh at
At the
you, not
organization.
with you, and
Yeah.
they've had enough of that.
yeah, I'm fine with
I would have
lightening
avoided
the
that
mood.
line.
That might not be the way to do it.
I would have avoided that line like the plague. I would have said, we've got great fans, and we're going to hear from them tonight, and just leave it at that.
Lindy on the hot seat, 30 games in.
Do you guys want to hear Craig Berube's talk about the Sabres? This is really funny.
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
want to play it. So clip 5 on the Sabres, please, Derek.
Well, it's going to be a hard game, I'll tell you that. That team, you can look at the Montreal score all you want. I mean, Montreal scored some power play goals on them, but they played extremely hard against Montreal. They were pretty good in that game, to be honest with you. They got Blueline back tonight. He's a handful. It'll be a good atmosphere. It'll be a good game. Be a competitive game. Very competitive game. And our guys got to be ready to go from the start of the drop of the puck. And we got to be competitive right away. And we got to play North hockey right away. This is a very good team talent-wise. And if you turn pucks over and you're not checking properly, they can do some damage.
Is that Sheldon Keefe?
I was just going to say he went full Sheldon Keefe. In that 6-1 loss to one of the worst teams in the league, they actually were not
a
bad.
major moral victory
weren't-
against the Canadians.
They weren't
He's
bad.
just covering himself.
Well, no, but
That's just a wily veteran.
he is for
Right?
sure. But that's the old Keefe move of every opponent you play is the
Their metrics are actually very good.
They may not look great, but boy, are they good. Blueline coming back is not insignificant.
Yep.
That's a big deal for them. They've been missing him.
The only guy that Matthews, my prediction that there will be a gloves off fight ever in his career will be against Delling.
Got a fairly fightable face.
He just can't
Yeah,
stand
let's
him.
send him in. Do it tonight
Tonight,
Yeah, just
With the-
really
with-
wrench
with
your
his-
back, throwing a right
with his
cross.
70% back.
Yep.
That's the best idea.
Okay, we take a quick break because we're going Buffalo Sabres talk after the break. Mike Harrington, columnist for the Buffalo News. This guy has been very critical on what has been going on there. We'll get his thoughts on what needs to happen moving forward for the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear from Mike. That and more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sam McKee. Welcome back to the Leaf Hour edition of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Mike Harrington, Buffalo columnist for the Buffalo News, will join us in a few seconds. It's going to be real interesting to hear from him in terms of what he thinks the Buffalo Sabres need to do moving forward here. Is it 13? I've lost count.
I think it's
JB.
11 straight games.
It's
Yeah.
11 straight games.
Got some points along the way. Loser point here and there.
Does that help?
I
Loser
don't know.
points?
Mike will have answers.
All right, let's welcome him in. Mike, how are you, pal? Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Nick. Yeah, I was actually a foot away from Berube this afternoon when he made that comment about how good the Sabres looked in Montreal the other night at times. Do you know that at one point in the first period there, the shots on goal were 9-0, and the shot attempts were 21-1?
Oh my God.
No, the Sabres did not look good in Montreal the other night.
Well, you just pulled a Doug MacLean where I just say hi, and then you just shoot it out of a cannon.
I love it.
Very, very good stuff, Mike, so far. So, with the stretch of bad games here, where is we need the Leafs and their 15,000 fans to come into the building tonight like we need a hole in the head on a scale of 1 to 10?
It's about a 20 right now. Realistically, the whole run they're on, they don't need a 3-game stretch of Toronto, Montreal, Toronto with all the media involved out of Canada. They needed right now to, I think, be in St. Louis and Columbus and nowhere near Toronto and Montreal. But that didn't happen for them. And it's unfortunate because it's an 11-game winless streak. There has been a lot of good games here. They have 6 one-goal losses and 2 other games that were 1 goal with an empty netter. So there's been 8 legitimately competitive games. Tuesday was not one of them. And, coming on the heels of the owner visiting the dressing room on Monday, you would have thought there'd have been more of a response. And now you have to see where are they mentally at all coming into this game against the Leafs when there's going to be 90% of the crowd in their home building rooting for the other team.
Mike, you would say at times over their 13-year playoff drought that there were times you would call them hapless. This group to me does not seem without hap. They're okay. They've got some talent on that team right now, but for Pegula to go in there and say that it's all within that room there, how do you assess what ownership decided to do there and what this team really needs?
I just think they don't know what to do right now, and that's why Terry Pegula showed up in Montreal and talked to them, because I think they're so mentally fragile. Because you're right, people don't realize before this 11-game winless streak, they were 11-6-1 in the previous 18 games. They were in 3rd place in the Atlantic Division, 2 points behind the Florida Panthers. That's not a small sample size. For this thing to completely disintegrate in about 3 weeks is really unbelievable. And it goes back to, December 3rd against Colorado when you blow a 4-0 lead It's 4-1 in the third period. Darlene gets hurt. They lose the game 5-4. That was the first of 8 losses in a row in December without Darlene, who comes back tonight. And I just think that game completely torpedoed their season. And right now there doesn't seem to be any recovery from it. Their defense core has been weak. Their forwards haven't been scoring. The power play has been a disaster. And it's just a question of mental fragility now at this point.
We're talking to Mike Harrington, Buffalo Sabres columnist with the Buffalo News Sports. So when we first heard of Terry Pegula coming in and buying the Buffalo Sabres, it was much like any new owner with deep pockets coming in and being somewhat of a savior, Mike. And here we are today. We're well-versed on his latest visit to the team. But where is it big picture in terms of maybe even the balance between the football club, and we know that he's the owner of the Buffalo Bills, and where are people and where are the players when they see an owner like Pegula come into the room? Is it do Buffalo Sabre fans feel a little slighted that it's all Bills and less Sabres at this point?
There's some of that, but there's just a lot of confusion here. I mean, the players were fine with Pegula coming in. There was a terrific vibe in the locker room Tuesday morning at the morning skate, actually. A lot of players met the media, and there was more of an upbeat feeling than I'd felt all month, and then you got that kind of response in the game. But ultimately, you know, it's not like he's an incredible NFL owner. He got really lucky. He hired a first-time head coach, Sean McDermott, who brought in the GM, Brandon Beane. They drafted the quarterback who a lot of people said don't draft, who turned into Josh Allen. I mean, let's not forget here, Terry Pegula, who's hired people like Ralph Kruger to coach his hockey team, hired Rex Ryan to coach his football team. So, you know, things have gone really well for the Bills. They've had a lot of good decisions made and a lot of strokes of luck. I mean, look back, you're coming up on the 10-year anniversary. The whole plan for the Sabres was predicated on one thing, and it didn't happen. They didn't get Connor McDavid. We'll never know how hockey history would have changed had that lottery gone differently. And then it's been a series of revolving door of coaches and general managers and, you know, the situation with Eichel, and nothing has worked or gone right with this hockey.
So the other day, Elliot Friedman started a bit of a firestorm when he said, like, what about Cousins and Byram for Pettersson? Is that where we're at in terms of, you know, how to fix this Buffalo thing? Do they need to make a big move like that?
They need to make a big move, I think. But at this point, you can't just do something with all the buzzards circling around, like all the crazy blog type things coming out of Nashville. Oh, the Predators are going to get Dylan Cousins. Well, the Predators might want Dylan Cousins, but they might want to talk to the Sabres about what they're going to offer. You know, I mean, some of these things you hear are pretty ridiculous, but that's the problem Kevin Adams has right now is he's not going to get a good trade. Nobody's going to help him out here, but you can't stand pat and do nothing either, because it goes back to what happened with Jason Botterill in 2018 before they drafted Darlene. He finished last overall, and he famously said at a press conference, this mix is not working. Well, it applies again. This mix, for whatever reason, is not working. They have to change it up. There's going to be a core player here who has to be moved sooner rather than later at some point. They're just, you know, what are they going to do? Lose 16 or 18 or 20 in a row? You got to do something here.
And Mike, do all Buffalo Sabres fans take Mr. Pegula at face value when he says no major changes and Kevin Adams will have plenty of time to fix this? He's the guy.
I think people do take it at face value because they're disgusted by it. This team hasn't shown a penchant for making a lot of moves here. At some point, maybe just for optics, you're going to probably have to remove the general manager. You're not going to fire the coach. You just brought him in, and it's Lindy Ruff. I mean, but the idea that the thought that you could sit there with an NHL team on an 11-game winless streak that could go deeper than that and do nothing to try to fix it and just watch your team careen into last place in the Eastern Conference is just incomprehensible to me. But right now, that's what they're doing.
So is Darlene going to make this? He's a huge difference maker for this team, I think. And his absence here, has that been a major reason why they've struggled? You lose that many one-goal games and you're missing Darlene. That's got to be related.
Yeah, it's tremendously related. The power play has been terrible, and he's certainly the quarterback there. And he's, we kind of joke amongst ourselves, cover the team. He's like a one-man breakout at times.
Right.
I'm pretty convinced when the score was 4-1 in the third period against Colorado, if you had Rasmus Dahlin out there, you probably wouldn't have lost that game. But he hasn't been out there, and the defense has struggled without him. He's a guy who plays 25 minutes a night. And they just haven't been able to pick up the slack and get over the hump in some of these games. You guys saw in Toronto the other night. They had a 3-1 lead. And what happens? They go haywire for 2 or 3 minutes. They give up 2 or 3 goals. We've seen that act before. And all of a sudden a 3-1 lead is a 4-3 deficit, and they lose another game that they probably, for the first 30 minutes had a good handle on.
I got to ask you about Owen Power, Mike, because it seemed like yesterday we were talking about this big stud college player coming in and being great right away. And it looked like he was just on this trajectory to be a superstar in a very short period of time. And now I'm watching him, and lo and behold, he's 22 years old. He's closing in on 200 games in his career, and he struggles in his own zone. That's the only way I can describe it to you in a nutshell here. And is this just a classic example of too much too soon?
Yeah, they didn't need to sign him to a 7-year deal at $8.3 million a year, and they did. He's really kind of on the same plane Dahlin was on. In 2021-22, Dahlin really struggled at times and had to get through some hard times in year 3 and year 4. Young defenseman. I mean, Victor Hedman went through this too. But they paid him so much already, you're expecting superstar production at age 22, and he's not there yet. He's certainly not close in the defensive zone. He has to improve his awareness on the ice in the defensive zone. He has to improve his physicality. But he's a big guy who doesn't really hit. He's more of a finesse player, so you don't know where that's going to develop. But right now, the problem is the losing culture around the team makes it difficult for Power. People need the instant gratification. They need to see a star player, and you're just not getting into 22 years old.
And sometimes, like if you can just get saves, it kind of papers over a lot of the drama. How is the goaltending situation playing out there? Nobody with a 900 save percentage, but UPL, how's that gone?
He's been good for a large portion of the time. Now, he hasn't really been good here in the last few games. I didn't like some of the goals in Montreal the other night. Slavkovsky beat him on a bank shot from behind the goal line, and even a couple of Line-A's goals. They're rockets, but the whole arena knows it's going over to Line-A. You got to shade to that side, and he got beat twice on shots that I didn't like. He needs to be better. He's like everybody else in this team. They need to be better. They cannot continue to make the same mistakes they're making. And once in a while, you've lost 11 in a row. Your goalie needs to steal you a game. And he hasn't stolen them a game during this run either. And that's also a problem.
Mike, I'm going to give you one crack here to be the general manager of the Buffalo Sabres, and you're going to create a little bit of a Jack Eichel blockbuster here with one player in this lineup. Who would you choose? Would it be Dylan Cousins like everyone else is choosing right now?
Boy, I think it's Dylan Cousins everyone else is choosing because they like the potential, they like the body, they like the age. Believe it or not, if you wanted to get a big package, maybe it's Tage Thompson or Alex Tuck. A little bit more older, a little more distinctive. You kind of know what you have, and they're both fine. Tuck has missed some good opportunities this year, but I do think they need to really make a big move here. And I'm not sure the GM is capable of doing it. And I think a lot of other teams are trying to fleece him too. But, how do you I go back to how do you continue to do this? They need more men on this team. They have too many kids. They need more NHL veteran players on this team right now. They're still rebuilding, but at some point you've got to try to win hockey games, and you can't rely on draft picks and prospects because the GM's not going to be around. They need to get some more veteran players in here. You think of the Bowen Byram for Casey Middlestat trade. That was a hockey trade. The Buffalo Sabres need another big hockey trade of NHL regular players to try to shake this thing up.
Kip, to back Mike up on that, the Sabres are the youngest roster in the NHL, 26.1 years of age right now.
Hey, Mike, Get those Leaf fans to keep it down to a dull roar, would you, tonight?
Oh, I don't think it's going to be very much of a dull roar.
Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Yeah. All right, take care, gentlemen.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mike Harrington, Buffalo News Sports.
Yeah, youngest roster in the league at 26.1. Canadians are 26.4. Flyers and Sharks right behind them.
Boy, you hear the frustration of covering this hockey club in his voice.
Yeah.
I will say the Tage Thompson thing's interesting to me.
You can't trade good players and get better.
No, but I don't know. I know the 2 points he made there. Them trading right now is horrifying because everybody's circling.
Oh, yeah, you're trading. Yeah, you want to trade your good players.
No, all the savvy general managers in the league are got Kevin Adams on speed dial right now, calling him, picking away.
Can you imagine Kevin Adams right now just contemplating a Tage Thompson trade?
Oh, my God.
No.
Come on.
The Owen Power thing is interesting if you believe that he's not going to become something else. Because I still think he's a talent that can become something really, really special. I still think it's within him.
I do too.
He's got to find an edge. You cannot be 6'6", and maybe Hedman's the type of guy he should just be looking at. And Mike made a valid point here. In year 3, there's still some struggles.
Yeah.
And then the way he blossomed. But there's a streak in Hedman.
Yeah, but you got to be strong like Hedman. But I don't know there's a streak in him. He doesn't back down.
No, but he plays with force.
Yes, he plays with force.
And that's it. I'm not talking about scaring guys, intimidating guys, ripping guys' heads off.
Forward.
I'm just saying, though, when he's out there, he's forceful in controlling and managing the play.
These big guys can play, Barkov, Matthews when he's good. Some of these big guys who aren't tough can still be tough to play against, and Power is certainly not tough to play against yet.
I'd be terrified trading Cousins. Cousins to me seem I'm
less scared trading him than Power.
Any of these guys, the way it goes with the Sabres stuff now, any guy you trade, whoever it is,
You're
it's
worried
Reinhardt, it's
Reinhardt,
Eichel, it's
Montour.
it's all of them.
First of all, I don't believe that there's a team out there right now that would be willing to do a package for Owen Power right now to take on $8.3 million without knowing for sure what you think you're getting. And right now you don't know what you're getting with him. So there is, in my opinion, there is no deal out there for an Owen Power right now. Unless they want to eat money off of it. No. And they won't.
I have long been a proponent of let's pay this guy before everyone else realizes he's going to be worth so much more. The Power one and their other guy there. Is it Rasmussen? I forget.
Well, there was a few of those.
The Power one is at least bridge him and let him have a year before. Jack Hughes had a year of you can see it's there. I don't know that Power has had that.
The last few years, Ottawa has been dealing with that. You paid all your young guys without really knowing for sure.
Matthias Samuelsson is what you're looking for,
right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And
Justin,
it's okay.
Players got to catch up to that.
Yeah.
Right now, it just doesn't seem like it's more Ottawa's time finally than it is Buffalo's right now.
Everyone was like, let's do the Nick Paul thing. And then meanwhile, Pierre Engvall's banking 20.
Huge night tonight. I'm just not talking about hockey. Don Postles is retiring.
Who?
Don Postles. Buffalo News, Channel 4.
Congratulations to Don.
Irv Weinstein.
Oh, you read that Simmons column yesterday with a bunch of names in it. That's what you did.
It was a good column, though.
Okay.
It was a good column.
He's like, I am an old guy as well.
Yeah.
Commander Tom. Commander Tom mean anything to you? Oh, my.
Sorry.
You guys are puppies.
We're just kids, but we're kids.
All right.
I'm the dinosaur.
Doug MacLean. Don't go away. All right. Let's take it national on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne is brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, we welcome back Sammy McKee. And as always, Derek Brandeo and Jake the Snake Schultz.
Yes. Also, we should take requests for texts if you'd like to Text us at 590-590, and Kyper, myself, and Sammy will do our best to answer your questions.
So between now and maybe about 40 minutes from now, we'll have riveting radio and TV for you.
Riveting.
And then we'll run out of ideas.
Please generate our content.
Yes, at 590. In a couple of minutes, we'll have Doug MacLean. He'll help us kill about 20 minutes. He'll solve nothing and only confuse us that much more.
For the record,
it'll be fun.
Doug will be fun, but when people generate our content, they come up with ideas, like our friend of the show, Dr. Philosophical, who says, if you're Chicago, would you trade Seth Jones for Owen Power, taking that risk? Owen Power makes 8.3, struggling, high potential. Seth Jones, playing pretty good, 9.5, a steady NHL D right now. Buffalo wants to get better.
How old Seth Jones?
For the record, I would do this if I was Chicago and take on Owen Power.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Of course.
Yes, I would too.
So there would have to be some additional.
Yeah. What, like, are we talking about 6 years difference?
In
Owen
age?
Power's
Oh, yeah.
22 and Seth is how old?
I don't know. Seth
come on.
Jones' age. He is 30 years old.
Yeah,
That's
come
a lot
on.
of
You
years.
cannot give up those years
All right.
for sure. So I'll give you one a little better,
Okay.
more realistic
Okay.
than Sammy's.
Me?
Yeah, you're the one that suggested it.
I didn't suggest. I read
Actually,
it
tweet.
Yeah, you read it. Okay.
in a break.
Well,
I read it in the break.
You read
Got
it in the
there.
break.
I
You're,
did.
you're the one that brought up Seth Jones.
Sure.
Unrealistic. How about Keandre Miller, New York Rangers?
For Owen Power.
Yeah.
Then the Rangers are almost saying we're focusing more down the road.
Maybe.
I'm in.
Maybe. All right. Fresh off his latest tweet on X.
What did he tweet?
I don't know. He was hiking. He was doing something. And then he sent getting ready for the real Kyper and Bourne show. So let's bring him in. Doug MacLean, former NHL president, general manager, head coach, and author. Where were you when you tweeted today that you were prepping for us?
I was jogging on the beach. Did
Which
you not
sailboat
read the
is
tweet?
yours in the picture?
No, none of the sailboats. I hang out over there though during the day once in a while, you know.
So,
but listen, who that might be the dumbest trade I've ever heard.
Which
Seth
one?
Jones for Owen Power. Like who in their right mind would say? See, that's
Sammy.
what that's a
Sammy made
general
it up.
manager
I
and a
didn't.
radio junkie or whatever he is. Like seriously.
yeah.
So here's what they
We
here's what they
squashed
let me-
it.
here's the deal they have to make a 2-for-1 deal. Okay, like I'll give you an example of a 2-for-1 deal. They trade Chychrun to Washington, Ottawa, right? And they got 2 players for Chychrun. They got Jensen and they got Shabbat. Because all of a sudden Shabbat can play now because he's got Jensen with him. That's what they need.
Yeah, he's
They
been
need
better.
to make a trade to bring somebody in to help Owen Power become the player he's supposed to be. That's what you have to do. Jensen, and I said it on your show 2 months ago about the difference in Jensen in Ottawa. He is now all of a sudden, it's fun to watch Shabbat play because he's finally playing to his potential. And that's what it's about, bringing in quality veterans with these kids in Buffalo. That's what it's all about.
Where would handing him $8.3 million a year come into play on where his development is today for you?
Well, look, it's a lot more than that. They've had 10 years of top 10 picks. 10 years of picking in the top 10, 2 first overall, 2 second overalls, and not hardly one of them have played a game in the American Hockey League. Not hardly a game in the American Hockey League.
But
Like,
hold on.
the-
First pick overalls and second overall picks don't hardly play in the American Hockey League.
Exactly, but there's 6 others that were picked that didn't play in the American League behind them. Kids have got to learn to play the game, and they've got a bunch of young guys there that haven't learned the game, and they don't have the right veterans with them. They've tried, And you know what? It's one of the toughest jobs of being a general manager when you're with a bottom feeder.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to get the big. They had Eichel, they had Reinhart. You've got just think about. I watched Calgary game last night. You watch Tkachuk, and I've talked about him on this show numerous times. This guy was taken after Kokoniemi in the draft. Okay,
Brady,
I
we're
watched him
talking.
last night get sliced up, takes a high stick, goes out, scores the winning goal. Then he's the first one out to do an interview. This guy, if you as a franchise, I was never lucky enough to get that type of player. We dreamt about it. Remember, we missed out on Taves. We missed out on all these great players, Stahl, Taves. They all went ahead of where we picked. And it used to drive me absolutely bonkers. Now Ottawa, with this big horse, like a Barkov, like the big guys around you need that big horse that's going to be your go-to leader and surround them with better players. And I feel for like Kevin it's frightening watching this team play right now. I'm telling you.
You had a shot at Kopitar and you blew it. Yeah, and
he went 11. Right. 5 other guys were just as dumb as I was. 6 other guys, including geniuses like Dale Talon, Doug Wilson, and I can name them off. I mean, real Brian Murray. Brian Murray took a guy that never played a game in the league.
All right. You win.
Thank God Brian took him.
I went to Doug's Twitter page to look at the picture you're talking about, and his Twitter masthead is draft day available for pre-order now, October 3rd, 2023. So, Doug, I don't think you're updating your Twitter page very much these days.
The way it's selling, I don't have to update. You guys that have trouble with sales, you got to update. I don't have to.
All right. So the Ottawa Senators you mentioned, Shabbat looks a lot better having Jensen beside him. I always felt like to win in the NHL, you have to have some of those elite game-breaking guys. Have Tkachuk, like you mentioned. Has he got there? Is Stützle there now? Do you think this Senators team is a legitimate, they're going to get into the playoff sort of team and can make noise?
You know what? I was looking this morning at the Rangers going to clean up their mess. That's another mess we should talk about. But are they going to clean up their mess and challenge for that 1 or 2 playoff spots that's open? And that's the problem. I look at the top 6. The top 6 are getting in. The 3 in each division are getting in, and then it's wide open, and it's going to be Ottawa. I mean, can they catch Boston? I mean, and who is there? The Rangers. It's Ottawa. Is Columbus able to? Merzlikins. Oh my God, he stood in his head last night. Merzlikins, and what he does is after he plays 2 or 3 good games, then he's too tired, and they have to bring somebody up from the minors to play because he's exhausted. Never hurt. He's always just exhausted. Anyway, the way goalies are today, well, you can't play them. Here's the difference in Ottawa. Ullmark, he was horrible at the start of the year, and now he's really good, and all of a sudden the team is gathering some confidence. As Travis said the other day after the game, they're finally buying into the system. And I thought, no, Travis, Ullmark is making big-time saves, and the team is getting confidence, and then now they're buying it. But Ullmark today, and I would never have believed this, Ullmark is better than Swayman right now. It's not even close.
Yeah. There's no question that Swayman has not found his game for the Boston Bruins, and that has a lot to do with, I think, their inconsistencies as well.
By the way, I was listening the other day about Stolars, and I heard Pebbles. Like, what's going on with Pebbles? Is that a Flintstone thing, or what? Where did this Pebbles
Nothing to worry about. It's just a pebble.
I have never heard of a pebble in somebody's knee before. What is that a new? Like, I thought he was talking Flintstone.
What? Hey, Fred, let me ask you this, or Barney. What does that do with you in terms of the feelings that you have about the Leaf goaltending moving forward? Like,
it tells me they've got 3 guys that now is Murray up yet? Did he get up? Did
playing
he make
tonight?
Up yet?
Playing tonight.
Good. Now they've got 3 injury-prone goalies. That's would make me really nervous. 3 of them that you hope they can be ready for, be available at playoff time. Because I'll tell you what, I watched Wall in Dallas the other night. He was good. He played great. Ottinger was horrible. He was really good. Difference in the game. I mean, a couple of saves that kid made was unbelievable. So he looks real good. Stolarz looks real good. Murray, well, what has it been? 900 games since he's played in the NHL, or what?
A few.
I mean, look, I know he's had a good start, but it's good depth for them. You never wish a kid bad that's had the health problems he's had, and people thought this guy was a franchise player a few years ago. So we'll see what becomes of him. But they got good depth now. They still have in the kid in the Marlies. It looks like a prospect, so they've got real good depth, and their depth throughout the lineup is better right now. They look pretty good.
Are you going to go to the West? I want to go to the Rangers right now.
I was going to do Rangers.
Okay. All right. You want to start?
Nah, if you got a question, mine, go for it.
I do. Okay. So listen, I mean, we know there's a little bias with Gerard Gallant for sure with you.
No, not at all.
He's on his way to Davos, isn't he, for the Spangler Cup?
Yeah, I might have turned that gig down if I was him.
So why I bring him up is, we know he's a good guy. Everybody knows in hockey he's a good guy, and he would not, look at Peter Laviolette and wish him ill will on anything, moving forward. But do you think that Gerard is looking at the Rangers right now and going, maybe, guys, it's not coaching?
I don't know if Gerard, he may not be, but I know his wife Pam is. Listen, it wasn't coaching when Gerard got fired, but there was something happened there with, what? Here's the thing. One of the things about being a general manager in the NHL is that you really work to have a good relationship with your coach. I mean, there wouldn't have been every second road trip that I would take the coaches out for dinner, meet them for lunch, treat them to a nice dinner, and talk about the team and talk about things. Gerard told me in 2 years in Detroit, they never went to dinner once with Chris Drury. In 2 years. Wow. Once they went to a lunch in 2 years. Is that team building to me? Is that working to try to get to know your coaches and being around and being part of the group? I couldn't believe that when I heard that. I couldn't believe it. So is that the reason they're no good? No. But listen, I remember watching that New Jersey series, the last series Gerard coached, and it was embarrassing watching how Kreider played, how Fox played, how Panarin played, how Zibanejad played. Those big guys in that New Jersey series that got their coach fired did not show up to play in that series. The year before, they played their tails off, went to the conference finals. So there's more than a coaching problem with this group. And Drury, I read a great article about him the other day, has to fix it. Because they right now have no clue how to play the game. When you give up 5 2-on-1s in first periods and you leave your goalie hung out to dry, you're not going to win many games the way the game's played today.
So it does kind of feel like something is rotten there a little bit. And I can't help but think back to Paul Maurice just leaving Winnipeg and being like, I don't think this Wheeler Scheifele group's ever going to be good enough. I'm just going to go. Like it kind of feels like that in with the Rangers. And it seems like they're trying to change that culture. Trade Trouba, trade Kakko. Is that what this is going to be, is move out enough bodies and hopefully that changes things? Or do you think this ends up falling on a coach, a GM, someone like that?
I don't know how they can make the right deals. You're going to give away good players, and are you going to get quality back? There's one thing when you trade a veteran and you take kids back, or you trade kids and you get the quality veteran. But this is trading pretty good players That's really not easy to do. And if you're going to start moving a Kreider out and you're going to move a Sabanajad out, and some of these guys, Keandre Miller, you're going to move out some of these guys, you're going to get yourself in more trouble. So it's really a touchy thing because this team is good enough to contend. This team, talent-wise, there's no doubt in my mind they are good enough to not win the cup, not win the conference, but they certainly can compete for definitely a high playoff spot. And there's something that's totally wrong with this group. I don't know if it's Laviolette. I don't even know the guy.
Dolan?
Well, it's not Dolan, but I mean, he's got so many people in between him. I mean, I used to poke him at the governor meetings to wake him up because he'd fall asleep at the Board of Governor meeting.
Mac,
He's got the Knicks to worry about.
we just recently saw an article, I believe, that came out of the Westchester Journal, and the author or the writer eludes me now, but it was an in-depth article about the culture in New York, and it had some pretty solid details in terms of at least what appears to be people sharing stories with them. And I'm just wondering now if you as a general manager ever saw that dealing with an owner that you had in like Columbus or in Detroit with the Ilitch family, like how you would have handled something like that.
It was a really ugly story. It was and the writer talked to people that knew what was going on in that organization, and that's not easy to do. That's not easy to get people that are close to that scene to talk the way they talked in that article. It was a damning article, a damning article for a GM to read that. And you know what? There's two situations. You got Buffalo and you got New York that the GMs now are taking some serious heat. And, you know, they've got that's the number one job of a general manager in the NHL is team construction and also the morale of the organization. Team construction is a very tough challenge when you got to construct the right pieces or put the right piece in place and build your team. And the morale of your organization. You are the leader. The coach is not the leader. You know that, Nick. In the NHL, the GM has got to be the leader of the organization, and he's got to set the tone. And right now, both those guys, Kevin and Chris Drury, have got monumental jobs to do right now.
All right, so let's take it to another team that's got some drama around them. We'll take it to West
one
now.
thing.
Yeah.
One point.
Yep.
And it all starts with conversation. General manager to the players, general manager to the coaches. I remember interviewing for an assistant GM's job with Harry Sinden years ago. And it was assistant GM job. And Harry Sinden said to me in the interview, he said, and I was a kid. I was, coming out of Detroit as an assistant GM. And he said, can you stand in front of walk into an NHL dressing room today, and talk to the team? Do you feel you are capable of doing that? Because he said, I will never hire a management guy who I don't think, a GM or assistant, who can't walk into my dressing room and grab the attention of the players in that room. Do you think you're capable of doing that? That was the question he put to me. And I had never heard that in my life, ever. And I'll tell you what, walking in front of an NHL dressing room and addressing your team is a really important part of the job.
And intimidating, I would imagine.
Not for
You
Mac.
don't do it very often, but it's a real important part of the job.
Intimidating at first.
Oh, yeah, very intimidating at first.
You're Doug
yeah,
MacLean.
It is. Yeah. I enjoyed it, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Talking to the team. I enjoyed meeting with players and talking to players. I enjoyed that. It was one of the best parts of the job, So they've got to have major conversations right now with their groups.
So let's talk about the GM position, and let's talk about the Vancouver Canucks. You know, they're a fascinating team right now. Drama in their own way, right? Like, they have talent, they have a high ceiling. We've seen them hit it before, but there's some sort of internal conflict, and another team that, like, we kind of know that we don't know what's going on inside that dressing room. What do you make of it in Vancouver?
You know, I keep hearing that there's issues between Pettersson and Miller. And I think that's probably out there. I don't think you're hearing it from me for the first time. Is that what you're alluding to? You're like Harry Sinden. You bring it up. Say it. Let's have the. I hear it. Have you heard it?
I have heard it. It's everywhere. I don't think that's
So that I look at, and so now as the GM and president, Jimmy Rutherford and Alvin. Patrick Alvin, is that how you pronounce his name? Alvin. Okay. So now you got one guy signed for 8 years, another guy signed for 7 years, and they're going to play together a lot, and that's a problem. I think that as mature adults, that you would definitely hit that rate between the eyes and straighten it out, and fix it.
If you can't fix it, can you manage it? Can you actually win around it?
You've got to.
And what if you're not mature adults?
If you've got to fix it, or you've got to manage it. And there's always the comment that the team is a lot more important than your two personalities and your two little gripes that you have with each other. If that's what it is, like, what could really cause that? Like, I remember when I was assistant coach in St. Louis, Brian Sutter got into a fight with Jimmy Pavese in practice, and they went at it toe to toe. And I'm thinking, oh my God, two teammates are fighting? And you know what? It was one of the best things that ever happened. They became great teammates after that. Put them in the ring and let them duke it. No, you can't have Pettersson fight Miller. No. Put two guys
bad
in.
Idea.
Put an extra guy in with Pettersson and fight Miller.
So I had teammates that kind of had issues with each other, and we didn't think too much of it, but it kept kind of going on. And then you find out that one of them owed the other one $15,000 in poker.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no. We had that problem in Detroit. It's
really?
Not pretty. Yeah.
Not pretty.
What was this? Was it Gilbert Arenas to put a gun in his teammate's locker? Just let him know that you owe me some money? Just a reminder.
Hey, I didn't say it was this serious, guys.
So you're reporting.
But I think it's like, it's got to be fixable. This is the NHL. Come on. This is not pee-wee hockey. Come on, mature. It's a big boys league. Come on. It's all about the team.
Speaking of big boys.
As just a minute, I want to preface this.
Okay.
It's like Mother used to tell me. I'm not telling you it's the truth. I'm just telling you what I heard.
Speaking of big boys, Leon Draisaitl. That's all you have to say. It's Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah.
It's very Ron McLean question.
How good is he, and how good are the Edmonton Oilers now looking for you?
The Edmonton Oilers look really good, and I'm still really concerned about their lack of depth on the blue line. And I'm concerned about their cap to be able to finish off. And like, I could never figure out the Skinner and a couple of signings this summer. I couldn't figure those out. And to jeopardize your cap because of those. So it's going to be interesting how they can work around this to make a couple of key additions at the deadline. But Draisaitl, Hyman's coming on now. Talk about tough, and talk about a warrior when you see his face. I like the Oilers a lot. Skinner makes me a little bit nervous, but I'll tell you what, he stepped to the plate in the playoffs last year against Florida. So we'll see.
How about your boy Sid? Just like, he had 4 points the other night, dragging the Pens back. They're 8-2 in their last 10. He scores, then he punches Michael McCarron. What a player.
And I like this comment when the media started ripping him for slipping in the points total. All of a sudden, it always comes alive for him when he gets criticized.
Yeah,
he's a special guy, boy. He's I know his uncle, Robbie Forbes, who was really one of Sid's mentors, and I coached Robbie years and years ago. And I'll tell you what, I don't know Sid, but everything. Hey, listen, how can Sid not be one of the greatest guys? His favorite show was not Real Kyper and Bourne. It was Hockey Central at noon.
The one with me, Merrick, and Anthony Stewart? That's awesome.
He used to go out at the first of practice and do his extra work because he wanted to get off the ice after practice so he could watch Real Kyper or what was it called? Hockey Central at noon. Yeah.
One more because
now he races off to listen to the Sheet.
Hey, in about an hour, JB and I will be doing a pregame for Toronto Maple Leafs in Buffalo tonight. Craig Berube mentioned today about Austin Matthews that he used a couple of phrases. One was he's fighting through it, and number two was managing it. We don't know in terms of what's bothering him. As a coach and a general manager, when you saw a guy that wasn't quite right, but still good enough to be out there on the ice, where is that fine line between keeping him out there or just getting him off the ice for you?
When Nash sprained his ankle and he was out for 6 weeks, I asked him every day if he was ready to play.
You good yet?
You take him at 40%?
Yeah, I would have taken him at 25% with that group. But listen, with Matthews, it's really touchy because it's unbelievably important that this guy is 100% healthy. And the way they baby goalies, like, it's sickening the way it's like the NBA players. Now they don't even practice. They bring 5 scrubs on the road with them, former college guys that actually practice so the veterans don't have to practice. I said to somebody, that's probably why your team's no damn good. You're practicing against scrubs, like practice against your own play. But the goalies get babied so much, and I would be babying Matthews right now. I would get him 100% healthy. I really would, because he's that important to that team.
Well,
the week off, what do they get? 3 or 4 days off on the scheduled break, but he's got this big 4 Nations coming up.
Now our boy Sammy here says not a chance he would play him in that. Looking at Matthews today, but you got to assume that there's enough time in January where you can make that decision without needing to make it now.
No, you wouldn't make it now, but you're hoping that he's going to get some rest and whatever it is, whatever is ailing him. But they need him 100% healthy. For sure.
So before you get ready to watch our pregame show in an hour, you're going to still watch our show. If you have any questions at all, you can text us at 590-590. Okay?
Oh, by the way, when I was jogging on the beach today, I was looking at my phone as I was jogging, and I almost ran into this two guys and their kids on the beach. And I said, "Oh man!" And the guy said, "Oh," and so I said, "Oh man, sorry about that." And he turns, he said, "I recognize that voice. I recognize that voice. You're Ron MacLean." And I said, "Well, close." He said, "No, Doug MacLean. You used to be on with Kypreos." So I said, "You know what? I was just sending a tweet to Kypreos." So I said, so anyway, I just want you to know I'm still very recognizable by people from Ontario here in Florida.
Why don't you get yourself down to the DMV in Florida and get check if you still have a driver's license, because you cannot be running over people, okay?
Listen, guys, thanks. I'm really glad you're questioning me on things Sammy says now. Used to be questioning me on things GMs would say, or now it's what Sammy says. Sammy says this, and Sammy says they should rest Matthew. Like, give me a break.
Well, in your era, it was Simon says. Now it's Sammy says.
Guys, look, I really appreciate you having me on. I really do. It's been a lot of fun. It's always, As Jill says, it's always a great way to start our Friday night.
Poor Jill.
Tell Jill Merry Christmas and
Yes.
thank you. Thank her from us. We appreciate
As
her.
I say, honey, look, the beautiful gifts I buy you, Kippy makes a lot of those possible.
We sold a lot of books for you. A lot of
I know.
books.
You sure did, and I appreciate it.
All right.
By the way, did I tell you they're in paperback? See you
Yes.
later.
Yeah. Doug MacLean, everybody. Once again, never disappointing driving it in the ditch for us.
I spent a lot of time in the East Coast. I was there for 2 years going to school, and I'm very familiar with an East Coast goodbye. They're long.
Yes.
They're long.
Long goodbyes. That's a long goodbye.
I love the East Coast.
He's just,
No better people on the planet. I mean that, by the way.
listen,
Oh, yeah.
if we didn't
Literally
kick him
my favorite.
off, he'd still want to be on. He'd go forever.
You know what? I don't know if people like. I've never hung with Doug.
I've
never
never
got a
been- yep.
chance to just like have lunch with him. This is like my entire relationship.
Never
with
been in the
Doug.
same room with him.
Lunch turns to dinner real quick.
Yeah,
Yes.
a little different when you're sober, maybe.
Okay.
That's to meet him for
Well, wow.
breakfast.
Listen, we'll get you your fake beer
Get my
there,
partakes.
and the alcohol has nothing to do with the laughs.
Yeah.
The laughs will be there 100% when you're sitting beside
Well,
him.
we got to make it happen. I got to buy him a couple.
Okay.
Know that.
Game time?
Yes, go Sammy.
It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So I was looking at, remember earlier in the week when I was here, I mentioned about Leon Draisaitl as mentioned it for MVP.
Yeah, and we said check his odds because
And when I mentioned it earlier in the week, before he had another massive game, he was at 25 to 1. And that odds has now gone from 25 to 1, as I just quickly pull it up here, to 20 to 1.
so $10
and-
would have won you
well-
$250. Now it'll win you $200.
Yeah,
It ain't getting cheaper.
No,
It ain't
it's
getting
not.
better,
No,
And-
you're 100%.
you know, you can't give McDavid and McKinnon the MVP every single year. And I guess it's Kirill Kaprizov this year, who is kind of the guy that's
Angling for the lifetime achievement heart.
Well, I feel like that Leon Draisaitl is super live when it comes to that. Sorry, I got.
If he wins the Rocket and he's been way better defensively and he's better, yeah, he's in the hunt.
So you mentioned earlier too, you wanted to know what this Leafs and Sabres line was. The Leafs are minus 160 in Buffalo tonight, plus 135 for the Sabres on the money line. They're not giving you any real value on the Sabres because they know of the history between these two teams. Matt Murray playing his first NHL in 700 games.
You might be better doing puck line, like minus 1.5 Leafs. What
Yeah, minus 1.5 Leafs is plus 160. So that's an interesting one to me. I really don't have the best feeling as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan about that game. Feels like it's a funny when they've lost 11 in a row. Leafs House of Horrors could go badly. And and that was game time. Presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, we're going to hit a quick break, and then when we return, a little Ovi talk. The
But I thought we were going to do some text.
March.
We're running out of time. We got
No, we're
a
good. We're
billion
going to talk
texts.
Ovi, a little bit of Ovi, and then we're going to get to tax.
Buddy, we got 50 million texts. We said we were going to do text. We're not gonna, okay, we'll
But
talk
I'm
about it.
talking Ovi.
Okay.
When we return, and you're going to want to hear it.
Okay.
So don't go away.
Okay.
And don't listen to Sammy.
Okay.
Back after these words. As a reminder, this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Okay, quickly, before I was rudely interrupted by Sammy on Ovi. He's getting a piece of coal in his stocking this Christmas. Ovi. He's been shut down by head coach Carberry on returning till after Christmas.
Okay.
Everybody said that he was close. He also mentioned that he was close, but they're going to be careful, as they should.
So they've got about 50 games left, and he needs, 25 goals or something like that?
No, 27, Sammy?
It's around there.
Yeah.
Oh, big help there, eh?
What do you want me to do the math? I'm an idiot. What do
It's
you want from me?
around
Yeah,
there.
you know what it is. Okay, it's in the vicinity. It's not many.
I wonder, is there enough time for Ovi to do it this year?
Oh, my God. What did he score? He scored like 15 goals in 18 games.
The funny thing is,
Had
if
2
he
goals
doesn't
in the
get
game he
it
got hurt.
this year, if he gets within a couple, you have to get through summer without incident,
Yeah,
without blowing out your ACL in training or without whatever.
Something tells us he's not going to be playing pickup hoops this summer.
No. So hopefully he's.
So he's at 868 right now.
Yes.
So let me.
I got to tell you, people
Carry the
really
one.
are in support of him getting this done. People are excited about him breaking the record.
We don't need it.
Because Sam and I don't know that you've been on train, but we've both been like, I'm not that thrilled about it. Like the Canadian guy
He needs
it.
27.
27.
Yeah.
But most people are like, hey,
Yeah.
you're being a party pooper. This is a cool thing. And so maybe I've been.
I'm leaning really heavily on it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
And he has just been better than anybody in the history of the game of doing this.
He's the best.
Why do we have to do this?
He's the best goal scorer in the
it's
history
the
of the league,
number. You're
regardless.
just
He doesn't
speaking of
need
the
to break
number.
the record.
He literally has not been the best yet. There is one man who has done it much better.
Not
Much?
Not
27
adjusted
is
for era.
much?
Yeah, 27.
Not adjusted for era.
Oh,
Gretzky
not
played
adjusted for era.
Oh my God, how many would Ovi have scored in his era?
It's impossible to know. Ovi would probably
We'll
not.
never have any idea. It's like he'd have scored a lot more. That's how many.
but you don't know. I mean, anyways.
Okay. All right. Now we can go to your text 590.
Okay,
We're good.
I better have a good one now.
I gave the OV update.
Crystal from Stouffville. Was Nick ever invited to play in the Spangler Cup?
No.
Did it exist? I'm not
No.
trying to be
Oh,
a
it
jerk,
did. Yeah,
but
it
How
did.
long has it been around?
I think it's been around for a long time.
Okay.
Canada's been going for a long time?
I do believe so.
Yeah.
And the answer is no. No,
Yeah.
I never got a sniff, and everybody just speaks so highly of it,
It's a bucket list item for me.
right?
To go.
And it's the scenes apparently phenomenal in Switzerland.
I would like to take a
Davos.
Switzerland vacation too, if that's the conversation we're having. I don't need to watch Sam Gagner post-retirement play hockey, but I'm interested in going
I'd go skiing
Yeah.
while he
I would
played
love to go to Davos. That sounds amazing.
and just
You
get
guys are
updates.
nuts. Like, you wouldn't want to go to a game?
What? Why?
Why? It's in a historic old barn.
The
It's
barn
been around
looks
for
amazing.
It's been.
Why?
By the way, it was 1923 was the first year, so it's over 100-year-old hockey tournament. See all the cool jerseys, the people singing, the people chanting,
Why-
Okay, I'm
enjoying
into
it.
it.
Yeah.
Why
sold
would
me.
we go there,
Sold
have
me.
a great time, drink our face off, and then miss work the next
Oh,
day?
I knew that was. I should have.
Why would we do that?
Hey, wasn't the next day, buddy? I had 2 days before I missed a day.
2 days.
But you weren't good on those 2 days.
Yes, that was great. That was perfect. And I'm not even good today. So what are you talking about? Harry from Meaford. Did Kyper ever fight Bob Probert?
Surely not.
No. I was genuinely frightened of the man.
I saw Probert fighting Domi.
I
the
would have if
second
I
one
had
the other
to.
day.
I just never felt like I had to.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's like total back against your wall, no out.
Yeah.
You versus the rest of your life feeling like you were a coward.
You'd have to do it in that
That's
moment.
how you have to feel
Yeah.
before you fight that guy.
And who was the most scared you've ever been to fight?
Chris Simon and Tony Twist.
Oh,
I can't believe you fought those guys.
I can't either.
Tony Twist. Oh, my God. All right. If Pegula moves on from Adams at the end of this season, which qualified GM candidates are lining up to take on that gig? Mark Hunter, question mark?
It's a great pick.
I think Mark Hunter's always a name that we hear, for sure.
I think he'd be great.
Does
to
our
me-
buddy Mike Fuda get,
Get Fuchs in there.
everybody's listening to his genius work at noon,
Get Fuchs in there.
right?
The I can't help but think of the way that I feel like Jim Rutherford turned the Canucks around and Don Waddell is giving credibility to the Blue Jackets, and is there an older guy who's done it, who's had success?
You're trumpeting the older dinosaurs now? Wow, that's awesome.
I think
Thank
you want those people leading.
Can you get me in?
See what I can do, pal. I don't think you want it.
Call the Senators.
And leave this?
Yeah, leave all of this.
But to your point, there is something for experience at that level. So,
Lou Lamoriello might be available.
So-
Hopefully not.
like Kevin Adams could keep his job, but why wouldn't you put in a Ken Holland beside him? If Lou at age 83 says, I don't want to do this anymore, but I'm happy to go mentor somebody. Wouldn't he be awesome?
That's kind of what I'm talking about here. Can you have someone who's just been through it, who is a professional, who knows the ins and outs of the whole thing?
Like Doug MacLean, like in all seriousness. Like think about
Not
his...
joking, I think that would
Not
be fine.
joking, but
I don't know,
assistant
great,
coach,
Doug.
head coach, right? General manager, president of hockey ops.
Yeah.
The guy has done it and lived it for 30 plus years.
And also, is
Why-
going to sit idly by while they're bad.
Why, in anyone's right mind, would they not think that that would be a good thing? Even Kevin Adams to have a, and there was
Well,
talk
didn't they
about
just
it.
interview Doug like a
Yeah,
year
well,
ago
they
or
did.
something?
Don't you
or-
remember what happened? Doug came on the show, mentioned that he had talked to Buffalo, and then our first guest in our first hour is Mike Harrington from Buffalo News, and he wrote an article on it based on listening to Doug on our show.
Oh, jeez. And that didn't help?
And I don't know, then
Yeah.
they didn't hire Doug, but Doug would be perfect to go into Buffalo and help
But-
Kevin Adams.
It would be fascinating to see, right? It's, yeah, I do think you need some experience there.
Okay, so this text says Kyper is always talking about Martin St. Louis' man-on-man play with the Montreal Canadiens. Are you always talking about that?
I think I've mentioned it maybe once or twice.
I've talked about it.
Are you
So
zone defense or too much?
I think that Gaz and I did a bit on it on a show the other night where it's like they don't have the horses to play man on man, but they do play man on man. They chase guys around with Justin Barron and the rest who they don't have anymore.
so
Didn't we watch the
the-
Leafs do that a lot too prior?
Yeah, they did it like a hybrid.
Early Sheldon Keefe?
Now it's a pretty good
Yes.
zone.
the follow-up question is, how secure is his coaching job? Thanks, Dennis.
Marty St. Louis?
Yeah.
I think he's fine until he doesn't want to do it anymore, or maybe in a few years it doesn't feel like it's progressing, but it ain't now.
Is it like Charlie Montoyo here a little bit where they're like, everyone likes this guy. They are happy to have him there kind of while they're in transition, and no one's going to complain because he's such a legend there while they're figuring it out. And maybe once they are looking to win hockey games, maybe they think more about it. But right now,
Yeah.
do they even want to win right now? I'm not sure about that.
And listen, I'm not speaking out of like jealousy, although I would love dearly to be considered like the status of a Hall of Famer or one of the best players in the world. But when you go down a certain list of people that are still involved in our game that aren't playing anymore, like a Brendan Shanahan, like a Stevie Yzerman, like a Joe Sakic, and let's put Marty St. Louis in there.
Mhm.
There is a level of longevity that you get out of being that guy than anyone else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Marty can enjoy it right now in Montreal, not feeling the pressure, even though the results aren't there on a consistent basis.
So true. Hey, it's not unreasonable to suggest you get an extra bit of a leeway when you've been the player.
Yeah, and Marty has that in Montreal.
Lots of Kyper specific questions.
Oh
today, folks.
gosh, Can
My
we
feelings aren't
talk
hurt.
about his green.
So, Merry Christmas,
Sweatshirt.
gentlemen. Wondering who Kyper's favorite coach was.
I had fun with Paul Holmgren
Yeah.
because he was just so intimidating, and he would scare like young players like Mark Gregg, who's Ridley's dad in Ottawa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and like it would be hilarious in between periods because he'd grab a half-broken hockey stick and start slapping it in his other hand, and then you'd hear that whack in his hand, and watching Mark Gregg like cringe every time he heard that sound of his hand slapping against a Sherwood. was
Least
the
favorite
best.
coach?
Least favorite coach? Oh,
That wasn't
gosh.
included in the question. I just thought I'd take some liberties.
Probably Terry Murray, who replaced his brother Brian in Washington. I couldn't win him over
Yeah.
as much as I did his brother.
That's crazy. A brother took over for another brother.
Yeah, brother
I'll
versus
give
brother.
some shout outs to my, we won the midget provincials with the Millers and the Helliers behind the bench. So shout out to some friends from Westside. But I played
Love that.
for Davis Payne in the ECHL for a very short period of time, and he's now with the Winnipeg Jets. He coached head coach of the Blues for a bit. He was in Los Angeles and Ottawa as well. Awesome coach, smart dude, and also the same thing where it's like that intimidating presence that I think works, and I think you kind of have to be taken seriously almost in the league. Shout out to Scott Ford in Columbus, too. He's an assistant coach there. He's going to be a head coach one day.
Okay, love it.
Oh, AJ McLean as well. Go ahead.
Here's another one for you. This is another fake trade that got me in trouble, even though I wasn't the one that brought it up. So this is from Brad in London. I would like to see Riley and Robertson to the Rangers for Kreider.
Riley and Robertson to the Rangers for Kreider. Like some of these trades are like, it's too much for me to process. Like you get rid of Morgan Riley and then you get a 30-goal scoring winger who also doesn't pass. Like, are we better?
I don't mind talk of Kreider coming here, but like you just cannot give up a top 4 defenseman.
You need him.
And just leave a hole there, right?
Yeah, another winger.
It's just depth. What have I told you guys the last few years? Like you need a 7th defenseman, you need an 8th defenseman, and possibly one that could see playoff action at your 9th defenseman.
Yeah.
You cannot get rid of Morgan Riley no matter how underachieving you think he is right now, unless you're getting a top 4 defenseman back.
And I'm going to say something that I'm going to boo myself off the show for, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's December 20th of 2024. Let's see who scores more between now and December 20th of 2025, Nick Robertson or Chris Kreider.
Oh, my God.
Let's just see.
Okay.
Check on it next Christmas.
Okay. All right, I'll make a note. Quick one from Calgary. If Dustin Wolf keeps this pace up, could he win Rookie of the Year? Been a while since a goalie won. Thanks, David in Calgary.
Well, as an awards voter, he's currently at the top of my ballot.
Over Celebrini?
Well, Celebrini, for me, it's games played. If he gets the games played, then yes, he'll be the dude. But
Calgary's they've kind of faltered a little bit here, haven't they? They strung a few games in a row in the last little while.
Had some OT disappointments. And
they're sour about the high stick last night that Kachuk got away with on Huberdeau, and then he goes down the other way and scores the winner with his big ugly lip.
Yeah, he tried to sell it too, right?
OT losses.
Yeah.
Nice play by Allmark to get a helper on that too, eh?
It was an unbelievable play. Yeah, got a nice breakout, and Ottawa's got good vibes going. Once you start to believe too, and I think the Sens believe that they are a team now, you start to play with a little bit more pep in your step.
All right, that's it, boys.
All right, off to I'm off until
you got to race. I'm going to walk. You're going to run because you got to get that ugly green sweatshirt off.
You're wearing that, eh?
I am wearing this. Yeah,
change?
I got the pinstripes going.
I'll wear brown then.
But this is Borny's last show until the 30th of December, right? Because we have that show on the Monday.
You're taking
Is that when we're back?
You're taking a sled to New York, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to be at the Islanders game here in a couple days. Excited to check that out. Haven't been to UBS Arena yet. I'll get to see the Buffalo Sabres.
And the Islanders. What a match.
So the New York Rangers have not only let the Ottawa Senator fans have new life, but like a lot of other
They've
teams.
just taking the heat off the Isles right now.
No, the Isles don't have playoff glasses on.
I think they do. I just
Right?
think no one is looking at them and laughing right now because the Rangers are doing what they're doing. But
Lou will not wave the white flag.
they don't quit on seasons.
All right, Sammy, good job, buddy.
Oh, thank you.
Well rested.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, thanks.
Carried us today.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Our thanks to Mike Harrington from the Buffalo News Sports in our Leaf Hour edition of our show. And as always on Friday, Off the Rails, Doug MacLean. Terrific job. All right, get your running shoes on. Half an hour, we go live, Sportsnet Ontario, Buffalo and Toronto. It's going to be fun.
See ya.
Have a great weekend,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas,
Stay
everyone.
safe. And we're back Monday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. See you then.